Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Titan Performance Podcast. It is Trent, it's Tiffany. We have no Mike here today because he's off lifting weights or growing his hair out or something. I'm not really sure. I think he's actually harvesting coconuts from the trees and making his own coconut oil to put in his hair to keep those luscious locks looking the way they are. But like I said, a guest today is Tiffany. Tiffany, how you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
So, Tiffany, you know Mike, kind of, right? Y'all like work out together?
We met through a mutual friend, and yeah, he's been to my gym before, and we got, connected that way. Um, yeah, briefly.
Nice. And what is it for all the folks out there, right? Like just quick background, like what is it that you do and like how did you get there type thing. You know what I mean? And you can go in as much detail as you want or not.
Okay, sure. The expedited version. So, I own a strength and conditioning gym here in North Carolina. We ended up in North Carolina because my husband is with Third Group. So we're just about 45 minutes from Fort Bragg. And I say I own it, but we own it together. But he is still active duty, so I'm the day-to-day, the head strength coach there while he's in and out. Um, and how did I get here? I've been in the fitness industry for, oh, this is going to age me, probably about 20 years. About 20 years. So, working at other various gyms. And then, it was actually Joel, my husband, that at some point he was like, you need to open your own thing. You need to do your own thing. My undergrad was in business development, so I kind of had the business side of things. And then I went back and got two different masters in exercise science. One that was a physiology specialty, and then one was a kinesiology specialty, and then I have a micro masters in. I really like learning. I really like school, and I have a micro masters from Stanford in psychology for human performance. So there's where there's where I'm at.
That's it. That's all.
Yep, that's it.
What got you started thinking about human performance and what when did it click for you that it could be like a viable career? You know, because it's a little unusual.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's, to be honest, it is not. When I was 18 and I went to Ohio State, that is not what I went for. Like I said, I was my degree from Ohio State is business development. I really liked um helping businesses grow, and at 18 I thought, oh, I was going to travel a lot, and which I did when I was young in my career. It turns out business development is actually pretty stressful when you have quotas. To me, you probably know, right? I worked for a couple of big agencies. And so I had always worked out, trained regularly with my husband, my now husband. He was a collegiate athlete. I was never that good to be collegiate, but I kind of accidentally found, I got more and more and more into it with his help, and it was my outlet, right? It was like my stress relief. And I just realized, and then I really got into the science behind it and what was working and what wasn't, and what changed my body and what changed my mind. And I just knew how much it helped me. And so I thought, yeah, I would love to help others in this same way. And then it just kind of evolved. It went from working with so then I started getting certifications, and then, like I said, eventually then went back to school for it full time. I started, working general pop, and then I got more and more into the tactical world. University of Florida, where I got both of my masters. They have a really cool specific track there, which I took, which was physiology for human performance and kinesiology for human performance, specializing in the tactical field, because you train those guys and girls very different than you would general pop. I still work with general pop, and I still love training general population, but I do have that kind of specialty that I'm really passionate about as well.
That I have to say, like, and then you just sparked something in my brain. There's nothing more frustrating than being I'm not like an overly fit, aggressive, tough guy, but like going to the doctor, right? And you have like the pain scales, you have all the other things. We're going to like physical therapy, and they're like, hey, swing this 20-pound kettlebell 15 times to help with whatever's wrong with you. And it's like, bro, like strength is not the problem here, at least not swinging the kettlebell thing. So, like, is that
Sure.
kind of like where you see some of the differences in population? Is it more mindset? Is it physicality? Um,
So the last thing that I got, right? So I kind of got like the physical part of it. I think this is maybe where you're going with it. The last degree I did was the psychology for human performance. That was like the missing piece. Because again, for me personally, um, the training is is mental for me. Like it's my mental outlet. It's my it's what makes me feel good. I mean, obviously there's, the hormone aspect of it. There's a real thing with training. But and I don't know if this is answering your question, but what led me to that final degree was, why do some people like and seek and thrive doing hard things, and why do some people, it's like you couldn't get them to do it if their life depended on it, right? So I don't know if that's answering your question, but yeah, for me, it's a lot of this is a mental attraction.
well, I think for anybody that's been, that's done certain things, it's impossible to separate the physical and the mental, right? Like I mean,
100%.
in your husband's career field, it's the same way. Everybody's like, oh, it's like 10% physical and 90% mental.
Yeah,
Understanding that the driver is the brain to make you do everything. And I have to imagine that you can see some of those separations when you work out or have those type of folks versus, like you said, some of those gen pop people, that it's like, how do I find that motivation within you to do the thing that's going to make you a better human? Like it's hard to understand that wall that's there.
it is. And what it is, the separator is the intrinsic versus the extrinsic motivation, and that's where the psychology degree kind of came into it, is understanding how to get to people's intrinsic motivation. Like, because it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. Is it that you want to live longer for your kids, or like you said, you go to the doctor and they're like, swing the kettlebell or whatever, and and um and that's harder than it should be, and you feel bad about that, and you're like, this should not be this hard. And so anyway, everyone's, or the intrinsic motivation is, I want to go to a selection of some sort, whatever it is. But for most people, I have to find something beyond, I want to like look good for this vacation.
Yeah, I mean that's such a short term thing, and I'm not saying I don't try to like look good for summer. Like right now it's
Oh,
bulking season,
sure,
getting ready
sure.
for,
Yeah,
yeah, got to start the cut as
yeah.
early as possible. But yeah, you got to do those things. But and I think I found, when we talk about motivations too, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but as a retiree, I think that's one of those things that happens, is right, is like I go to the gym for performance for my job, and then I retire, and then you kind of find yourself in that gen pop space where you're like, why am I working out? And so I know personally, like it was freeing knowing I don't have like a PT test or any of these other things coming up. I don't have to stay off the doctor's naughty list, so I can still jump and all that.
Right.
But also, like, to show up at the gym every day at like 5:30 in the morning, I got to have something more than, like you said, I just want to look good.
Yeah, that's right, because your job no longer depends on it. Your life no longer depends on it. And I actually work with a lot of retirees, a lot of JSOC retirees, a lot of third group retirees. And it, for them, I think it is such a part of their identity for so long. And they've kind of, their professional lives have changed. This is the one thing that they can continue to carry on and makes them feel like themselves. So I mean, I don't know so that's what I see in a lot of my guys who have retired and now train with me.
Or you can just hang out with people like Mike, and then you're just like, I am a disgusting pig,
You,
and
you got
I
to do
need to
something
work
to
like
feel better
Mike.
about yourself, something, right?
Right, it's terrifying.
When I saw him, he was like, I'm not really in that good a shape, and
Oh
I was
my
like,
god.
no, okay, all right,
Mike is the worst. He's like, I used to be like in actually good shape. It's like, dude, look around. Read the room, Mike. Read
yeah,
the
yeah,
room. No, he's great. He's actually just
yeah.
like super humble about everything. I do want to go back though because I think it's super interesting as a spouse, right? So you went to college, I think, with your husband, and so like you knew this guy was going to be a Green Beret, and you still married him, knowing all that stuff.
No, what was wrong with me? No, actually, when we met, I was a sophomore at Ohio State. He was actually because he's 4 years older than me. He was actually already in the Marine Corps. Had already had a couple of deployments under his belt. Came home, actually came home from a deployment. We had mutual friends, met him that way. Um, and then he retired from the Marine Corps. He was retiring from the Marine Corps around the same time that my brother was going to Buds for Naval Special Warfare, right? Like selection essentially. And I knew, I was like, there's no way he's staying retired. Like, not with my brother doing what he's doing. They're really close. And so I knew it was kind of a matter of time until he found where he was going to go. And then he ended up, obviously, in going to um, SFAS selection. So, but yes, to answer your question, I guess I knew what I was getting. Yeah, I knew what I was getting into. And, and I supported him because he's so good at it. It's just kind of what he's meant for. So to be anything other than supportive would have been such a disservice to him. Um, so I could
Yeah.
not.
Well, I mean, through some of my projects, like I have fielded a lot of questions from people, right? Especially like the folks that are married. It's always like a big question. It's like, hey, this guy's gonna, he's gonna disappear. He's gonna go to selection. He might not have access to a phone for long periods of time. Like, oh, how long is the pipeline altogether? It's like it's not 3 months, guys. We're talking a year, years, depending on what they're getting themselves into. Was it hard to maintain that like supportive attitude, all the way through? And how did that communication work? And I'm asking this for a lot of people because this is one of those things like that communication throughout these like strenuous. It's not just the deployments, right? It's like during the pipeline and everything else. How do you maintain that relationship and that understanding and that support, while he's not around doing what he's doing?
Um, okay, so and I think probably he would back me up on this answer. I could not be supportive at any time because I actually feel like I kind of I knew that he wanted to do this, so there was a little bit of a gap between Marine Corps and Army, and he actually went and worked for home for us is Ohio, so we were back in Ohio at the time, and he worked for the state of Ohio in military affairs, so still worked within uh, with some degree of military, but he was actually like a liaison for guys who were deployed back to the Secretary of State and the politicians in Ohio, and and he just wasn't as happy as he could be. I don't think he was unhappy, but I knew like this going wearing a suit every day and going to a desk and like that is, and he was good at that job too, but I knew that that wasn't like it wasn't fulfilling him the way that I knew that an active duty role could. So I encouraged him. I was like, go do something. Because honestly, the happier he is, the happier we're going to be, the happier our family's going to be. So I encouraged it. I pushed him. So to answer your question, at no point could I not be supportive because I'm the one who told him to go do this and like gave him, my full blessing. So even if I was like, man, this sucks. Like I'm alone all the time. We had a very young toddler. Even if I didn't want to be supportive, like that was not an option. And I sure it sucks, but I mean, he was traveling for his state of Ohio job anyway, so may as well do something he really loves and is really good at. So
That sounds like the worst job if you still got the itch. I call it the itch, to get
yes,
it back out there because he's still like surrounded by like the military types.
I really do think that's exactly right. That was the worst. He was back at home in Ohio and working with guys, overseas, and that's really what he wanted to be doing. And so,
Ugh.
yeah, I think that's probably. I think it was actually probably the worst. Yeah, and then like I said, and then there was, my brother was going through buds and like crushing that, and they were really close, and I just knew it had to happen. I knew it was inevitable. So,
A little
yeah.
bit of competition. What was it like when he finally was he an alpha? I'm assuming.
He's an Echo.
Oh wow, he went
Yeah,
the E route.
my husband, not my brother, right? Yeah, Joel, my husband is Echo. Yeah, and
Okay,
actually, right now, he's an Echo and he's a Fox. If I'm being totally transparent with you, I don't understand a lot of what he does. So I just know he's an Echo and he's also a Fox right now.
That's good because I don't really want to start delving into any of the Fox stuff that
No.
it is what it is. Look it up,
Yeah.
kids, boys and girls. It doesn't really matter, but it's super rad stuff. It's a continuation of capabilities that is available for certain folks that get certain certifications on the teams. So what was that like though when you went to his graduation? You know, he went through Robin Sage and all that other stuff. He's a little beat up. Like, what was that feeling for you to see him, don that beret and achieve that goal?
Yeah. Well, so I never questioned it, and I'll prove to you that I didn't, because so I think I mentioned we were back in Ohio, and then he went to Benning for um jump school, and all of that. I was so confident that he was gonna make it through. I came to North Carolina, bought a house, and in Whispering Pines, where we're at right now, and because there was just, for me, I was like, there was no question that he was going to make it through, and and he never told me this in the beginning, but once he was graduated and everything, he was like, yeah, I knew I didn't have to I didn't have a choice, because either I
Yeah.
was making it and graduating, or I wasn't coming home. I just wasn't going to come home, because you moved your whole life for for this. So um, no, I mean, I had complete confidence, but so while I never questioned it, I mean, of course, the answer is proud. I mean, not only did he do it, he did it straight through. He was never it was never recycled for anything. His language was Levantine Arabic, which is
Gee.
uh, the unfortunate part for him is he is wildly smart. He is incredibly smart. Like almost annoying. It's like pretty annoying actually. But so you take those tests and everything, and where you test, a lot of it has to do with what language they assign you. So of course, like the two hardest languages are either Mandarin or a dialect of Arabic, and you got Levantine Arabic, and so. Um, I was just super proud with how well he did. He was also one of the oldest guys um, to go through, because, like I said, he had already done all his Marine Corps time, and then had been out of that for about 4 years before he went back to do this. And I remember the recruiter telling him, he was like, "Oh, you're too old. You're not gonna make it through." And like, I think it was in me, and that's when I was like, "You go and you make it through. Like, don't let anyone tell you that." So I was just super proud of him. So.
You're like, you're my old man. You're gonna make it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
fine.
right. Yeah. And I was like, you're better shape than all of them. Like, go show those, early 20 kids how it's done. So, and he
Yeah.
did.
I think there's a lot to be said though, to give you some props, to have that support. It's like, it's kind of a weird thing to talk about as a dude, but it's like, when my wife is like fully supportive of something, like as a dude, like as a husband, you feel that there's pressure. Don't get me wrong. You probably felt a
Sure.
little bit of pressure when you bought that house in North Carolina, but you have that like invincibility, like they're the one person in your life that you truly want to impress, and you don't want to let down. When they have that confidence in you, the sky's the limit. There's really not much you can do. So I just wanted to throw some kudos your way on that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I hope he feels that way. Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, I don't want to get all feelings about it, but it's pretty rad when it happens.
Yeah, cool.
Uh, so you have a toddler. He becomes a Green Beret.
hmm
You're doing what you're doing. Like, it doesn't sound like you spent a lot of time just sitting around ever in your life.
Yeah, once we got to North Carolina, I moved to North Carolina, and I knew pretty much immediately, he graduated, and I knew I was going to open a gym. So, yep, I rolled right into that.
What's the name of the gym? I want to get this out of the way because if I forget to like pump up your gym during the
Oh.
episode, I'm gonna feel real bad about it.
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, it's Workhorse Strength and Conditioning.
Okay.
Workhorse Strength and Conditioning. Yep.
Everybody in the greater, Fayetteville, Fort Bragg area, get over there to Workhorse Strength and Conditioning and go see Tiffany. I'm assuming he knocked out a fair number of deployments. Green Berets, third group. I was deployed with those guys a few times. They're not busy.
Yeah, he's actually deployed right now. But yeah, this is one of many, if not deployment, JSET, or whatever, over there doing some sort of intel something. Well, like I said, whatever he does, I don't know. I'm just like, hey, let me know that you're all right. But yeah, he's deployed right now. Um, but yeah, busy, busy.
Yeah. And just the last thing about the Fox, it's not easy to do, y'all. Like the courses that you have to go to through to become a Fox. So first of all, he's an Echo, so he's a communications guy. So like all the things that they have to learn, how to build comms, how to you're talking about all different types of communications that he has to deal with for his team, and they rely on all that other stuff. And then to get a Fox on top of that, it's not easy. So. One of the things that comes along with those additional certifications and skill sets, and if he's a smart guy and he's a worker, he's not skipping rotations. They're going to make sure he's going on everything, right?
It feels that way, yeah. Yeah, feels that way. And he's also the guy that, with where he's at in his team, he goes early and he'll stay late, and so that kind of, like right now, this one he'll be gone for 8 months total, just because he went a month early, and
Yep.
we'll kind of stay and wrap things up there. So yeah.
PDSS, all those other things that come along with it. I do want to ask. So a little background. We just met everybody. We didn't really talk that much before we started the podcast. My wife and I, we were both active duty, and it was funny because like the first half of our careers, I was never home. Like I
Yeah.
was did the thing that I did, and we came to San Antonio so I could be an instructor, so we could spend time together. We had our first kid. And lo and behold, we didn't know that the Air Force Special Operations Command was, strong arming the Air Force on her behalf, so she wouldn't have to deploy because I was on team. So as soon as we
Sure.
got out of the Special Operations Command and we came over here, she started deploying. And so like I'm always interested in people's stories about what it's like to be the person left behind because I don't think that I fully understood how hard it was to hold down the house, right? When you deploy, at least, and maybe I'm just a bad person. I deploy and I'm like, I'm doing all these hard things. I understand that deployment is kind of easy. I have one job. There's really nice things about it, but I'm like, I'm the one that has to pack up and move. Like you get to stay home in the nice, comfortable bed in the house and all that other stuff. But man, it is, and I'm sure you'll back me up here. It is not easy to be the one that stays at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I said, "Oh, it's no big deal," I'd be lying, right? It's challenging. I think you hit the nail on the head. That um, I'm so sorry. I actually let my dog out.
Oh,
I'm
you're
so
good.
sorry. Okay, real life here. um, Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there are equal challenges, equal but different, right? And I think about this a lot. Um, when today, for example, the plumbing at the gym, like no pun intended, took a hit on me, right? Like plumbing went out. I'm grabbing my kid from school, and then I got to get her to, practice, and plus I am coaching and all the thing, and then I got to get dinner and grocery and laundry and all the things. So it's like I will catch myself feeling like, well, you go over there, you have one job, I have everything else, right? Like I'm doing business taxes, I'm just tax season, right? I'm doing the business tax, I'm doing the
Ugh.
personal taxes. I got the call with the financial advisor. It literally feels like everything else. And it's like, yeah, I know that your job is very important and I'm stressful but it's one job, right? So when I start thinking about that, I really do, sure, like it would seem like maybe I've got the harder end of things, but then I remind myself, okay, but I'm still, all things said, I'm still in the comfort of our home. I still can eat what I want when I want relatively. And the big thing is I'm, even though solo parenting is challenging, I wouldn't give up being with my daughter every day and, going to her volleyball tournaments and seeing her and hugging her and just being with her every day, which he has to. So I still think even on hard days, I probably have it the better end of the deal. And that's just what I have to remind myself.
Yeah, I mean, it. I think they're both hard, right? So, and maybe
Yeah.
for me, and maybe it's just because I kind of miss being on team a little bit. Like it was a little bit harder being stuck at home. But
Yeah.
I think it gave us both like really good perspective of what it is. And since this is like the Titan Performance podcast, and you're a performance person, the thing I thought of when we started talking about doing this episode, Mike and I, is that sustained performance, like you were talking about, like the relentlessness of the everyday tasks that come your way. Like how do you think that your physical fitness and everything that you do helps you, sustain that required performance every day? Because it's a grind.
It is. So, well, like I said in the beginning, the physical fitness for me is really my mental fitness.
Yeah.
So, that is my outlet. I can't imagine how I would function mentally without it, to be honest. Not like I don't drink. I don't really go out much. So I don't like, that's my outlet. So it's a non-negotiable for me. So from a mental perspective, that's what the fitness gives me. From a physical perspective, I mean, even if I didn't have the gym, I mean, I had to take my whole dryer apart last weekend and fix something in the dryer. So I was like holding up the dryer and like putting a part in. So it's a non-negotiable for that too. So
It
it's,
never nothing breaks when both of the people are home. It's always as soon as somebody leaves, that's when everything goes to crap.
listen, not 6 hours after I dropped him off on post for this one, like it was dinner that night. My glass stovetop, I was wiping off the counter and just, like an olive oil bottle, empty olive oil, just tipped over onto it. And I saw glass shatter and I was like, oh man, that bottle just broke. And then so I go to pick up, a piece of the bottle and the bottle was completely intact. And I was
Oh.
like, oh no, oh no. It was a whole glass stovetop. And I was like, well, we made it 6 hours. It's inevitable though. Yeah, it's inevitable.
The stovetop, the dryer, the
The
gym, it's
dryer,
all
the
gonna
the toilets at
explode.
the gym, right? Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, you gotta, like, yeah, you have to like laugh about it though, because, like you said, it's like Murphy's Law, right?
yeah. I do
Yeah,
want to ask about something that you said earlier. And I find it funny, kind of, right? You said you don't drink, and you kind of did like the apologetic thing. And I think it's so, this might be a Trentism. I think it's so weird that in our culture, like, because if you have to explain to people, like, oh, I don't drink.
yeah,
Like somehow drinking is like good for you or not drinking. Like it's such a weird ism that everybody has where you have to almost be apologetic and explain to people like, yeah, I don't drink alcohol.
right.
Like
Because they're like, "What's wrong with you? What were you, were you an alcoholic? Like, what's wrong with you? Why don't
it-
you?" Yeah,
it's I do think it's getting better. I obviously with this and with the media stuff, I do spend a fair bit of time on the internet, and it's funny to watch kind of like the culture change around it, where people are like,
hmm,
"Hey, alcohol is not good for you," and it's like, yeah, no kidding, guys. We all knew
yeah,
this. It's just
yeah.
it's becoming, I think, more and more acceptable. Did you run into those problems with people you train and all this stuff, just trying to get them to fuel that side of their body, which also was going to help your brain and all that other everything along with it?
Yeah, well, like exactly like what you just said, I have to be cautious of how I approach it, because while I am a strong believer in, and this is not to say, if we go on vacation, right, and when we go to Europe, and I will have a glass of wine, but even that, like I is rare. But so it's not that I am against it. But if you come to me and you say you have this performance goal, right? You have this performance goal, you have this body composition goal, but you still want to drink, I'm gonna be honest with you and tell you, okay, well, it's not doing you any favors. That's for sure. It's definitely not doing you any favors.
But
Um,
Tiffany, I can out train a 12 pack every night. I
right,
promise
right,
I can do
yeah,
it.
sure. Maybe in your 20s, maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe.
That's the problem is
Um,
that you don't make the transition later on.
that's right. That's right. And really, even in your 20s, I think we can get away with a lot more things in our 20s. But so I approach it from a scientific background, so it doesn't seem like because I have to be careful that I don't seem like I'm judging, right?
Sure.
Or that uh, yes. So I approach it from I talk about how it slows down your cognition. I talk about how whether you think that it does or not is completely disrupts your sleep, and then and this is something that was almost our full focus at Stanford for the psychology for human performance was sleep. Like that was what the whole thing was based around. So I usually go at it from a sleep perspective, how you feel the next day. If it's someone who's very body composition driven and motivated, I talk about, of course, it all turns into sugar, right? And then also if you have worked your butt off in the gym that morning and you had a heavy strength training session, It doesn't stop, but it certainly slows protein synthesis. So you may as well have just like not worked as hard. Um, it just literally does nothing for you. It does nothing for you, and it's expensive. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I don't know. I've thought about this a lot, and this is kind of off topic. I wonder if it's like one of the American things because like alcohol and religion is tied in certain areas, and it's people get defensive about it, and sometimes it's a crutch for people. But I think
yeah.
if you're listening to this and you're getting a little bit defensive about alcohol, maybe sit back and think about why that is, and good advice is good advice.
Yeah, and again, like I said, do what you want to do. A lot of people do it from like a social aspect. I like the taste of wine. Like I like the taste of beer. Actually, like I don't not like it. It just doesn't align for me right now. It just doesn't align. It doesn't align with my goals. It's performance goals. I have enough, I'm 40. I have enough cognitive issues that I'm dealing with,
Yeah.
being, in my 40s now, that I don't need anything else, clouding my judgment. And I don't have time, and I don't have time to feel like crap. I just don't have time.
When you got a kid to take care of, all the other things, it was
Yeah.
I think one of the really good things when my wife deployed too was like I was like I can't get drunk, like I can't be non-functional, all these other
Right.
things, but then it leads to the question later on. It's like when my wife is home, like how often should I really be incapacitating myself? You have like these special operations guys. It's like I'm the defender, I'm the sheepdog, whatever stupid thing we want to call ourselves this week. And then it's like, but you're going to willfully incapacitate yourself for like a number of hours. And especially I'm in my 40s. At my age, it's like I might be incapacitated for about 3 days, or at least not at my
Yeah.
best.
This isn't a couple hour thing anymore, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'll again, so in my 20s, when I was a cycling instructor, I'll be totally, so everyone understands that I'm not judgy, and I'm not, I would on a Friday night, Joel and I, I was in my 20s. I was early. We didn't have a kid. I'd go out, I would drink. And 8 a.m., I'd be teaching that cycling class like a lunatic, not phased at all. If you asked me to do that now, oh God, I would die. I would die because it takes me 3 days to recover. So I mean, I just don't have time for it. Like, I just,
Hangovers were a myth in my early 20s. I was like, that's not real. Cause like, yeah, you wake up
no.
at 7 a.m. the next morning, you go for a run, you're totally fine. It's, it's,
That's
it's
right.
weird.
Well, it's almost like a badge of honor. Like, look what I can do the next morning. I'm fine.
Yeah.
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 No, no more.
When you went in and got your psych degree, and you started putting all this together, what was something that was surprising to you as you went through all the learning, and then especially once you started like putting that into practice with what you're doing?
Um, what was surprising? I think I kind of knew this a little bit, but what level of attention that Psychology for Human Performance um, program put on sleep. Because I really one of the things that really inspired me, not only like my day-to-day work, but I read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's like one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of started like dipping my toe in the, okay, what makes different people respond differently? Like, is it nature versus nurture, in terms of resilience and performance? But what level of emphasis the program put on sleep? And I understand now, I mean, that's literally where your decision making starts, your reaction time starts, your decisions around nutrition, how food processes in your body, just literally everything, how your body responds to physical training. So while I was a little bit surprised at the emphasis on that, I'm so glad that it did, because I feel like I understand so much more. And that's where I start with everyone. If someone comes to me and they're like, I'm not seeing, I'm working my butt off in the gym, and I'm eating right. Well, they usually say they're eating right. I'm eating right and all this stuff. My first question was, oh, let's talk about your sleep. Let's talk about your sleep hygiene. Um, so I think maybe that was the surprise to me.
Yeah, I mean it's so important. It's funny too because as all this data keeps coming out, and it's consistent. Sleep is like if you could
Yeah,
bottle up sleep in a pill, we would all take it and we'd all feel like superheroes, right?
that would be
Um,
better than GLPs. Yeah.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
like, and as you're learning this stuff though, and you look at your husband and you understand, how often he's been sleep deprived through on deployments and through the pipeline, like what have you come up with like strategies for especially like that contingent of people, that population to work that out so that the it's not as detrimental as it probably was in the past for most of us that had no idea and we just kept going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you think like you bring him up, and another thing too, these like super low testosterone levels and stuff when they come back from deployments, and yes, of course it's because they're higher stress, but they're sleep deprived, right? And not only is it sleep deprived, one of the things that newer science is showing is um it's not just we used to learn 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, but what people weren't talking about is the root. It really needs to be the same 8 hours, meaning,
Right.
so like it's okay, fine. You don't go to bed till midnight, fine, but go to bed at midnight every night. Don't sometimes go to bed at 8 p.m. and sometimes go to bed at midnight and then waking at the same time, right? So if it's midnight to 6 a.m., stay consistent with that. Sunday through Friday, right? So right, like, and I think that's where those guys struggle is, um, he may get 10 or 12 hours when they come back from the field or whatever, and then you can catch up, but then they're back out again, and then they're back and forth. So, because you don't really catch up on sleep, you don't
Right.
catch up. Like, it doesn't really work that way. It's not like a, savings in a bank where you can put it back in and like make up for lost time. It doesn't really, the damage kind of already done from what I've learned, from my understanding. So we actually talk about this a lot with him, and actually, I need to probably tread lightly. I don't want to offend anyone. It frustrates me when they are home and they're doing certain trainings, and I know the point is to make them sleep deprived because you do have to see how they function when they are sleep deprived.
Yep.
But it's like, isn't that what we went through like the selection process for and stuff? Haven't we checked the box and that they're solid when they're, operating in sleep and food deprivation? Why do we have to keep doing this? Because it feels like unnecessary wear and tear on the body, which is affecting the testosterone levels and all of the, like, this whole like cyclical effect of it. And then it just feels a little bit unnecessarily um repetitive of beat up on the mind and the body to me. But
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, now I'm looking back, I'm like, dang, we did some really dumb stuff. But too, like on your
yeah,
deployment, you go to the other side of the world, so all your time changes, and then it's like, there are parts of Afghanistan, and depending on where you're at, it's like you're running daytime ops and you're running nighttime ops. Your
yeah,
sleep schedule's already jacked up because you came from the other side of the world. It's no wonder that we all got home and we're all tired. And like you said, you can't really catch up for it. And so like what can you do to like is there anything you can do to like mitigate not mitigate, but like kind of repair your brain, whatever it affects over time to get that back like your low T, everything is in the bottom of the barrel. And you roll into another train up basically for your next deployment, especially when things were busy. What are some of the things that you can do to keep it from being as bad as it could be?
yeah. There's not a great answer here, to be honest, because like I said, I don't mean to be super pessimistic and be like, oh, well, what's done is done, the damage is done, Um, obviously, okay, so when you come home and you have some normalcy, right? Um, like I said, be as consistent with the sleep schedule as you can, which again, like their training and stuff, even when they're home, makes that a little bit difficult. But be as consistent as you can. And if you're, struggling with low testosterone and stuff like that, train, right? Like physically train, because that's going to help try to naturally raise testosterone levels. Sleep as much as you can. Have a really good sleep hygiene routine, because even if you're not getting as consistent or as much sleep as you want the sleep that you are getting to be as quality as possible. So I'm really, really big into sleep hygiene stuff, meaning, and I think just the whole world struggles with this, but be off your cell phone, 2 hours and I say this, and I don't do, I'm a business owner, right? Like, I know what to do. That doesn't mean I'm doing it, to be clear, but be off your cell phone. We don't even have a TV in our bedroom. That's like a hard no for me. But like, don't fall asleep with the TV on. Have your temperature at certain degrees. 67 is like perfect, right? Sleep with blackout shades. I mean, like all the things. Some people do really, really well with hot shower before bed. Some people do really, really well with cold shower, but you kind of have to figure that out on your own. But as much as you can, make an imperfect situation as perfect as possible, and kind of have your routines when you can. That way, the sleep that you are getting is as quality as possible.
Tiffany, you're also going to have to bring along like a marriage counselor with this because there's one person in every relationship that you said 67, and only one of them out of every
Oh
two
yeah,
people is like, absolutely, that's the dream. And the
yeah.
other person wants it to be 78 degrees at night. So,
Yeah, yeah. I happen to be very, very lucky that we are both hot bodies, and we the colder the better for us. We have like one of those weighted blankets are awesome too. But we
oh,
have like the cooling gel bead weighted blanket. But that's what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna invest in something, we all invest in running shoes and all this stuff, which I think you should do as well. But like things to make your sleep as comfortable as possible. Um, Me coming from a business owner perspective, um, I mean, my mind is running like, I'm
yeah.
exhausted. I'm physically and mentally exhausted, but it's still really hard to shut down. You guys, from, an active duty perspective, same thing, kind of mind is probably always running. Um, so that's difficult. So you want to try to, do what you can, as much as what you can to make the sleep as best as possible. It's not
Yeah,
a
I
great
think
answer.
there's some no, absolutely. I mean, it's so personal, right? Like I have to read before I go to sleep most of
Yeah.
the time, right? Like because it puts my brain whatever ism I have, right? Because everybody thinks we all have an ism these days.
Yeah.
It puts my brain in order, and it helps me not do that like constant like hamster wheel of thinking about things. Because I think that's one of my biggest problems. But like all of those things are super important. I do have to ask about a couple things. First is creatine because everybody says that 12 grams of creatine can help offset the sleep deprivation effects. Is that a real thing according to Tiffany?
Yeah, so the we are really, really evolving in the creatine world. We've literally gone from when I was a new trainer to females should never touch creatine, it's a steroid, to the more creatine the better, right? So I actually was in Virginia about 2 years ago, two maybe now going on 3 years ago, with the NSCA, doing research specifically for a tactical population. This tactical population was specifically on firefighters. I work with a lot of firefighters as well. Um, um, but they are great for research again, specifically because of their erratic schedule. So our firefighters here that I work with, in our town, it's 4 on, 3 off, 4 on, 3 off. And so those poor guys' sleep schedule is a disaster. So we were working with new science and creatine. So and not only from a physical human performance, but now it's like you said, going into this whole cognitive thing. They're using in Alzheimer's patients, and so you mentioned 12 grams. That's exactly what we were trying to figure out. Well, okay, what's the dosage? And so we know that more is better. What we're trying to figure out is, okay, five. We know that 25. We know that 25 is like a, that was what we were researching in these firefighters, and that they were more cognitively function, and when they were called to an emergency in the middle of the night, sleep deprived, 25, they were working really, really well, and they were doing all kinds of cognitive function tests and everything. But we're trying to figure out that gap of, okay, but is anything between 5 and 25 worthless? Do you just, either
Right.
do one or the other? Or is 15 to 12 good too? So, from my knowledge, how I can answer this is, we know that more is better. The 12 is a new number for me. What we're research I've been playing with is the 10 to 15.
Okay.
Because 25 is a lot. Like that's a lot of freaking creatine over the
How many
course of the
people's
day.
stomachs can handle 25 grams of creatine?
Right, right. And so it certainly wasn't in one setting. We were doing it in three doses throughout the day, splitting
Okay.
it in three doses throughout the day, like think of like a breakfast, lunch, and dinner
I'm gonna say these
throughout the day.
firefighters are wow. They just
Yeah,
down
no, they weren't
25
like
grams of
chugging like
creatine and
25, yeah, just scooping into their mouth because that's yeah. So that was spaced out throughout the day, obviously over the course of like several weeks. Um, um, I need creatine because I just forgot what the question was. But oh, the 12. Yeah. So where I'm at right now is I can't speak to 12 or 15 specifically. Where I'm at with in the research is we're trying to figure out, right, is it like an all or nothing essentially? Is it anything between 5 and 25 is a waste of money, or does it really work kind of incrementally? Like 15 is good, 25 is better.
right. I mean, it's all anecdotal for me, right? But I noticed that if I get 12 or above, I feel my brain feels a lot better, along with some of the other stuff that we do. But I just think it's really interesting because, like you said, it was like the science, the bro science for a long time was like, no, guys, creatine is awesome, but some of the doctors were like, all the women, it's like you're
Oh,
gonna be
your
so
kidneys
bulky,
and yeah,
yeah.
well, yeah, you're gonna get bulky, or your kidneys can't process it, and it's actually creating kidneys dysfunction. No, and for whatever, I never am like I never say never, and I never say always. So let's say there's that small chance of some kidney disruption. What I know for sure is the benefits outweigh that very, very, very low risk, the small percentage of that happening. Um, it is the longest studied, the most studied supplement out there that is notoriously, no adverse side effects with only good side effects, to the point where like my youth athletes, when their parents come to me and they're like, my 13-year-old kid, he wants to take creatine. Yep, let him, have him take
Yeah.
it. Yeah, to my grandma, right? Like, and everyone in between. Yes. Females, should I take it? Yes. Males, should I take it? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, kind of, because like it's like thinking back to the '90s, is creatine was like there was all this like worry about it, and they're like selling
Yeah.
like Andro at GNC, so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was a wild time,
Right.
y'all.
They're selling, a Fedra, right? Like people's hearts are exploding, but you dare not take creatine if you're a female because you're going to be you're going to look like a man.
I still maintain that first version of Jack 3D was the greatest pre workout ever
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says, it was awesome.
Yeah.
We are coming up. I know you have a heart out, and I do want to ask this. So
Yeah.
you're looking at your husband, all these tactical athletes, all these folks. I think, and this is a guess, is you're younger, and you get used to
Oh,
just being
that's
able.
nice of you.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The guys when they're younger. You're also
Oh, oh,
young.
I thought you meant
Sorry,
me. I was
Tiffany.
like, oh, no one's called me young in a while.
Yeah, we are young. We're young. We're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So the younger guys, like you get used to on team just being able to tough it out, right?
Mhm.
You come in super good shape. It's hard. It's easy to keep up with your workouts. You do all these things and you just tough it out. Is there like a have you seen like a perfect time for these guys, whether you're military or fighter, a career where you need to have like a real like heart to heart with yourself? Because I think even as you get older on team, right? Like, because yeah, I'm sure you've seen it. The guys in their like mid to late 30s, they can still tough it out, because like they've built that psychological craziness to be able to do the job still, but they're probably causing almost irreparable harm by not doing everything else the right way, right? Like their sleep is down, their test is down, they've been on who knows how many deployments. At
Mhm.
what stage in the career should we really have, and I don't want to say intervention, but an intervention for their health and their longevity?
Yeah, I think this is like the perfect question for me right now, and our family, because this has been the question, right, with my husband and I. So he, like I said, he's a little bit older than me, 44. He's on a jump team, like a Halo team. So when he's home, he's jumping a ton. So hard on your body, man. And I really, I up to about 2 years ago, I was like, man, he's gonna be in an operator role for freaking ever, because he just he wasn't acting his age. He didn't feel his age. He was, I was like, man, his body is just withstanding all this stuff really phenomenally. I was like, we're gonna be here forever. Like, there's no end in sight. And it was right around 42, and that it was like it just happened. And like his ankles were hurting him, his knees were hurting him, his hips were hurting him, right? And it really became very apparent very fast that he was not 25 anymore, or 35 anymore, like you said. And he probably was just gutting through it a little bit, but he has now been more, it's inevitable, right? And you can only fake, it for so long. And I think he is, maybe is admitting a little bit more now. I, for the very first time, started beating him on runs, so I knew something that was going on. Yeah, I knew something. I was like, oh, I'm not getting better. Like, something's going on with him. So, to your point, right? Like, that's been the question, right? That's been the question. And we've had that discussion of, okay, is this the last deployment in this kind of operating role? Do you come back and take a SWIC role? So, SWIC is like a training role where he would
Yeah.
be a trainer, right? Home more often, not jumping as much, um, or take a role that's maybe a little less demanding on the body to finish out his time in the team. It We have not come up with a final answer yet, but we're definitely having the conversation. So for him, I can tell you the exact age, and that age was about 42. And I think he probably made it a little longer than a lot of guys, or maybe he just he went a little longer without admitting it. Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, he was a collegiate. He's been hard on his body for a long time. He was a collegiate football player, then was Marine Corps, and he was. Um, in an infantry role in the Marine Corps, and then went straight, into the Army. And so his training age is old. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure he's one of those guys that kept up with it. You've seen the other guys that kind of like taper off and then they have to like try to get it back. But it is hard, but there is that time when you have to sit down and be like, maybe I need to like do other. And it honestly, like at this stage in my life, like the number of supplements I have to take every morning just to
Yeah.
like be normal again is hard. But and it's hard. Like I don't know. You're talking about this. I feel all kinds of things about it because like
Mhm.
that time when you come off team and you kind of like start putting yourself to pasture. Like it is so hard to not
Yeah.
be the guy anymore, and. But like I'm sure you're going to be there supporting him the whole way. And I do have one more question before we
Yeah.
have to wrap up here in a little bit. Did you help train him before he went to selection?
Depends on who you ask. Um, I trained with him. So I
Yes,
was there in a support role. I trained with him. He's actually very, very knowledgeable in exercise science. I told you in the beginning of the conversation, I have two master's degrees in it, and sometimes he'll know the same things that I know. And I'm like, "Wh- how do you know?" Like, makes me really mad that I had to go to school for a long time, and you just like know this naturally. But he was very capable of training himself, but I trained alongside of him, again, more I think just to show, have a supportive presence. um he's actually, and that was, I mean, when he went to selection, that was 14 years ago, something. It was a while ago.
yeah,
But he really now he'll ask me questions. Hey, what would I do if this is the goal? How should I do this? So he's really good about taking my advice now. So I kind of feel like I've like earned his respect there a little bit, which is good.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny too because like we talk about husband and wife and training together and all those other things. Like it took it can be a hard thing to try to train together. Especially
Yeah.
personalities.
Yeah, it's really funny. I have so many husbands and wives can't do it, won't do it. They come to me individually. They will not train together, can't train together. Um, it's what we do together. It's actually what we do together. It's what we actually do best together. I mean, it's like I said, we don't really drink, we don't really go out. So when he's home, it's like we date we go to the gym. So that is one thing I think actually we do really well together. But it is not for everybody. It is not for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it took my wife and I a long time to get to where,
Yeah.
one of my problems, I was an instructor in one of our
Yeah.
courses too. So like, all the stuff that comes along with that, I'm not one of your students, and it's like, I think I'm being nice right now, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. And we really have our roles have kind of flipped actually, like where out he kind of trained me. I mean, we're going back 15, 20 years ago, and he really kind of trained me, and now it has reversed. And when he's home, he comes to group sessions, and so and he's fine with everyone seeing me coach him.
I
So
bet.
it's kind of, yeah, so and he's super humble and like has no ego and doesn't care. He knows what he's good at, so he has no issue with me training him. So
That's awesome. I
yeah.
think I lost you there for a second, but all right. Before we go, I do want to talk about your gym a little bit more. It was
Okay.
established a
Oh,
while
thanks.
ago. What's the best thing about your gym?
Ooh, we have, and I think every gym owner, I understand how cliche it is for me to say this. I know that.